Hello and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my July reading wrap up. In the month of July, I read 6 books, 4 romance and 2 fantasy. And I was very much in my summer reading era because I'm on the Cape a lot in July, and also July is like peak summer reading, I feel like. But let's start yapping about all of these books. I'll tell you the ratings, the reviews, and the one that I DNF'd. I will tell you why. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I started the month by reading Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and this is the book that I DNF'd. I DNF'd it at like 70%, so I'm gonna give myself the book that I read it like towards my reading goal because I did get 70%, but I actually haven't ever fully DNF'd a book before. But I really just was like, I'm not gonna waste my time. I don't need to finish this book. But basically, Today, Tonight, Tomorrow is following a girl who had just graduated high school, and they're playing their like senior assassin game, and the book is over a span of only 24 hours, and she's playing the game with her high school academic rival, and you can tell what happens from there. It just felt like very young. It is a YA book, so I should have gone in knowing that, but I just think that I'm not in the YA mood right now. I wanted to like read a real romance, and it just wasn't giving me that. And the girl was also just very cringy, and you know how YA can get cringy and cheesy, and that's exactly what this was. I feel like it could have been okay if I was more in the mood for it, but I wasn't, and I didn't like it, so I put it down. And that's okay. I don't even know if I'm allowed to like rate a book I DNF'd, but 1 star for Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. I'm sorry to anyone who loved this book. I just didn't. So yeah, that was how July started. But then the month got progressively better and better. So then I read Powerful by Lauren Roberts, and this is the first novella in the Powerless series, which is a 5-star book. Like the first book was a 5-star, 6-star book in my brain, and I put off reading this novella for so long because I knew it would be really sad and like painful. And it was sad and painful. So Peyton is the main character in Powerless, and Adina is the best friend in Powerful. So while Peyton is in her like trials, Hunger Games things in Powerless, it follows what Adina was doing behind the scenes, and it did break my heart, and it gives her her own little love story, her own behind the scenes of what Peyton was doing, which I loved. I just couldn't fully connect in this short of a book, which is like makes sense. It's just a novella. I feel like I can't ever really rate novellas that high. I think if this was like its own full book, it would have gotten 5 stars. If you've read Powerless, you know that this is just heartbreaking, but it was also so cute and beautiful at the same time. And this also has the best dedication that I've like ever seen. It's to the girls with softer dreams, your purpose is just as powerful. Like, that's so cute. I love a fantasy book girl who's like soft. Like, there doesn't always need to be that crazy fighter assassin female main character for me to love her, because like we don't relate to that girl. Personally, I would be the girl running away from all the violence in fantasy books, and like I would love the royalty, cute clothes and dinners and balls. So that's who Adina is, but it was also very sad. So I gave this 3 stars, but I'm really excited to read Reckless, which is the second book in the series. I think I'm gonna read that next. And then I read Funny Story by Miss Emily Henry. Emily Henry is my favorite author. Her and Sarah J. Maas, like the main girlies that we love. So I was expecting huge things from this, and I think a lot of people expecting so much from this, and then it just like fell like an inch flat, and that's also how I felt. I did give it 4 stars. Emily Henry is just such a good writer. Like, you can tell that every single like word she curates is like very purposeful, and she has such a formula in her books, and it just works great. There's so many good quotes in this that I loved, but I think I just wasn't obsessed with the characters, mainly the man, Miles, for the whole book. So this book followed, what's her name? Liv. Guys, I always forget the names of characters in books. Is anyone else like this? They just go right over my head after I read them. I think this girl's name is Liv. Oh, Daphne. Liv is in an upcoming book. So this book follows Daphne and Miles. This is gonna be hard to explain. Both of them have exes who leave Daphne and Miles for each other. Did I explain that correctly? So then they start fake dating to like make their exes mad, and they have to live together because Daphne moved to this town to be with her ex, and then her ex just leaves her, so she has nowhere to go, so she moves in with Miles. And so in the beginning of the book, Daphne and Miles are like grieving their relationships. So Miles is just a little bit unattractive in the beginning. He's like just smoking weed all day and wearing Crocs and like has a really messy room, which is like not hot, you know? So he's just a little off. But then as it goes on, I was like picturing like this sweetie, like intelligent, funny man. So it got better and better as it went on, and I was definitely rooting for them by the end. And there is always just so much more than just the romance in an Emily Henry book. Like I kind of picture them as like a literary fiction or like women's fiction plus romance, which just makes it fun. So I loved the main character girl, and I really related to like her friendship style and her anxieties around friendships and everything. I feel like Emily Henry just like brings the anxious girlies to life and like gives them everything they want, really. So the setting of this book is amazing. They do a lot of like going on little adventures together throughout the book, and all of them are just really fun and summery vibes. So I love this so much, and I love Emily Henry so much. And then I read 7 Summers by Paige Toon, and this is the first book I've ever read by this author, and I really enjoyed it. This book is very misleading by the title and cover of just being like a cute little summer romance. It is not. It is very heartbreaking, emotional, like every emotion you would ever feel is in this book. This is the book with Liv. It follows Liv and Finn, and they first meet together in a summer, like in their, like I think they're 19 or 20, like early 20s, and Liv lives in this small beach town, and Finn comes for the summer to like visit his family, and then they meet up every single summer after that. But Finn lives in LA because he's like this big musician. So like Liv's a small town girl, Finn is becoming a famous musician, and it's kind of just like right person, wrong time every single summer. Like it is so heartbreaking because you know they're right for each other, but they're just like living two completely separate lives. And so good. There's a bit of a love triangle in this too, which I feel like I have to say because some people hate love triangles, but in this it worked perfectly. It's like tragic in all the best ways, like, and it really makes you feel something. It did take me like a minute to get into the book. Like I think the first 50 pages I was a little like, what's going on here? But then it like really picks up, so warning there. But really love this, and the end of this book I was so gripped. Like I was flipping. I needed to know what was gonna happen because there's some crazy things. I gave this 3 stars because I feel like it just like when I sat on it, it's not like lasting in my brain, but when I do think of it, like I'm picking up right now, I'm like, this was a great book, but it didn't like leave an impression on me. So 3 stars, but like so recommend you read this. And then I finally read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. It's taken me so long to read this because I felt like I had to read Caraval first. Like that's what people say. I know you don't have to, but I read Caraval first before these, and Caraval took me a long time to get through. I didn't love those. I was riding it out because I needed to get to these books because they're so hyped. Like these are some of the most hyped books I've ever heard of, and I thought that I would like this so much more than I did. I was very young feeling, but this is about Evangeline, and she's another like soft fantasy girl. She's like such a hopeless romantic and just like loves love and believes in magic and all that stuff, and the love of her life gets married to her stepsister. This is like very like fairy tale world, and she like strikes up a deal with these magical fates to stop the wedding. And then because she made a deal with this fate, the rest of the story unfolds, and she has to go on an adventure to like a whole new place and all of that. But basically I did love that this whimsical fantasy world, like it was very fun and fairy tale-esque, but it just felt very young to me. And this is YA. I just wasn't expecting going into it to feel that young because it's so hyped up, and I've heard a lot about the romance in these, and the romance just wasn't fully giving. So I'm thinking that this is probably just like the setup world building book, and I know that everyone says the second book in this is like their favorite book ever, so I'm really excited for the second book. But this just like didn't fully do it for me, and I'm so disappointed. Like I wanted to love this and eat it up, but sadly I didn't. But it was a very good fast-paced read and like had a little bit of like murder mystery. It was really fun is what I have to say, but I just wasn't like obsessed. So I gave this 3 stars, but still a good read, and I'm really excited to get to the next 2 books. And last but very much not least, I read Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan, and this was the 5-star of the month. This is another deceptive book of being called Summer Romance and having this cute little cover, but leaving me with tears down my face. I have so many things underlined and highlighted throughout the whole book, and it was just so good. Like, all I have to say is this was just like lovely and heartwarming and heart-tugging in all of the best ways. Annabelle Monaghan, she is just such a good writer. I feel like she's getting up there with like one of my favorite authors because she also has the formula down for, these are pretty short books, but it's just like everything in it is so perfect. Like every single word that she chose, like you knew she thought about it. Every sentence had a purpose, and it was just like beautiful writing. And this was so much more than a romance, even though I was like giggling and kicking my feet at the banter in this book. Like the banter felt so real. I'll get to the characters and the banter in a second, but it's about a woman who's going through a divorce and she has kids, and she kind of like lost herself in the divorce. And usually I don't feel like super drawn to like moms yet, because obviously that's not me, but this did it for me in like the way of just girlhood and motherhood and how you can lose yourself to a man and being a mom and everything. But then the male main character in this book, Ethan, just brings her back to herself, and like you just watch her get her sparkle back, for like lack of a better term. And it's just all about like having the cheesy quote of like, it's better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. Can I just read you some quotes in here? Okay, here's the dog one. Like, I can't even handle it. You get a dog and you know 2 things. You're going to fall in love with it and it's going to die one day. You knowingly walk headfirst into heartbreak. That's the basic madness of dog ownership. It's just like perfectly lovely. Both of the main characters are just like going through these difficulties together and helping each other through them in like the best possible ways. And the banter and romance in this just felt so real. Like all of the like silly little things they said to each other when they were falling in love and whatnot was just stuff that actual people would say, and just so good. Like this is exactly what I want from a book, is to feel something but also be like, this is so perfect and cute. Just the best overall. So 5 stars, obsessed. So those were all the books that I read in July. Let me know how you guys felt about these books, if you read any of them as well, or if they're now on your radar or you're gonna put them on your TBR. And I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video.